Okay people, so a couple of major things I feel need to be said after My Hero Academia chapter 334. In particular, something to do with All Might, the state of things as they are right now, but also just in general about the tone of the manga at the very least for this chapter and what it's been for the last couple of chapters, the last couple of months at that, with everything that happened with Cassie, Star, and Stripe. Because I ain't gonna lie, right now with this chapter in particular, it felt very doom and gloom. It felt very somber. Obviously, we just had the death of one of the most impactful heroes to recently be introduced into the series. It was a short-lived entrance, but ultimately it was insane. Star and Stripe, Cassie, y'all know how I felt about it last week. It was a brutal loss, and ultimately you definitely felt it with this one, but it was something towards the end of the chapter of how All Might was kind of talking to the kids, and it wasn't anything of like him demanding or being mean, or I'm not referring to that, but just in general, it's a tall order that All Might is, I guess, asking of these children. Let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about.
No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done.
Okay people, so obviously fresh off the heels of last week's insane climax, the end of Cassie, Star, and Stripes, Kathleen Bates versus Shigaraki, All for One, or whatever the heck you want to call him. I wish Horikoshi would give this dude a name, okay? I ain't gonna lie, like, I'm tired of saying or All for One or All Shigaraki or whatever you want to call him. Can we just get a freaking name so that we can stick with it? I want to say I want to call him All for Shigaraki, but then it still feels like it's just saying this is all Shigaraki when it's really only like 3% of this dude is there. For the most part, a lot of who's been running the show with this body is All for One, the same person that kind of stole the glory from Shigaraki, because, and just a whole other side note, but man, I hope at some given point, whether it be again we get a time skip or something, that Shigaraki reigns supreme in terms of being the big villain, which I don't necessarily see that happening, because at the end of the last big battle or the last big war that they had, Deku felt like he needed to save Shigaraki. So if he needs saving, he can't be the big villain. Ultimately, it seems like it's really boiling down to, hands down, the one that's controlling this whole thing, running this whole show, manipulating everything, is All for One. Although I still have some form of hope, I guess you could say, that Shigaraki will return to prominence. But yeah, jumping into this one, we start off with a cover page of Cassie, and it looks like she's winking at me, fam. Like, honestly, from start to almost finish, this chapter just felt very somber. Y'all know we just had her big, sad death, and then, you know, hearing a lot of the soldiers that were talking in this chapter. It's just really sad, really somber for me anyway. I know some people are saying, like, I didn't even feel it. I didn't even care that she died. Okay, I'm happy for you. I'm the opposite. I feel very sad. I feel like Horikoshi did a phenomenal job for such a short run that she had. She had less than probably a volume, if not maybe a whole volume, which they better give Cassie that volume cover. I don't care if you need to put a little chibi Deku in the corner, but it better be that Stars and Stripes greatness on that cover, okay? I better see Kathleen Bates' beautiful face on the next manga volume. I just gotta throw that in there. But yeah, she was in there for about a volume, give or take maybe a chapter or two, and ultimately, like, I feel so damn saddened by it. I feel so damn saddened hearing some of the soldiers talking about her in this chapter, just from start to finish, seeing her in the cover page yet again, knowing that, damn, we just lost a real one. But we're continuing from where we left off, and a lot of the aircrafts are hunting down Shigaraki as he's attempting to flee, because y'all know that even though she went down, she didn't go down without a fight, and she kind of left, almost you could argue, a curse to All for One Shigaraki, as his quirks within him are being mutilated thanks to that final order that she left before she died. And he also explains how he has wings, that essentially that Nomu that exploded before he blew that motherfucker to high heaven, he took his wing quirk, which it's interesting, the choice of words that All for One uses. A lot of it, you could argue, I mean, he's talking to himself, for crying out loud. He's like, my beloved Nomu. Like, really? Your beloved Nomu that you just blew up? Like, the dude is sick, honestly. There's something wrong with him. Like, not only, of course, you could argue anybody that is a mass murderer or a murderer in general, like, there's something wrong with them in the mind, but also, no, there's something seriously wrong with him, from the constant laughing and him talking about, like, oh, my beloved creature, that he just blew up and stole his wing quirk. Like, like, yeah, all for one, a little bit cray-cray, my lord. And he is absolutely desperate to get rid of that because it is eating him from the inside out. I'm curious to see how many of the quirks inside of him were destroyed thanks to New Order, because obviously we've seen already, I believe it was last chapter, the Reflect quirk was destroyed, so he might not have as many at the very least of his top of the line arsenal quirks that he once had after all is said and done, because New Order is just tearing him up. And, you know, to add a little more emotion there, once again, Cassie's words echo within of basically how years ago a Japanese student saved her, referring to All Might, and how she tried to make her hair just like him and everything. And Horikoshi was just gut-wrenching us throughout all this. If you were an even mild fan of Cassie, of Star and Stripe, then you probably felt every time you saw her in this chapter, every time you heard her words, it was just one of those, okay? It was like, damn, Horikoshi, damn. And I know he probably felt like, or even the editorial staff, or, you know, the editor of the manga, whoever, you know, was ultimately the one that gave the final call that, hey, it's okay to kill Star and Stripe, they probably felt like, well, you know, she's only just been introduced in the manga anyway, so it's not like people are going to be upset. And I'm not upset in terms of like how some people, they'll be burning volumes or doing crazy shit like that. I'm just upset in a sad way of, I think Horikoshi did great. To get me emotional and sad about a short-lived character, you did a good job. Or at the very least, the character resonated enough with me to be able to say, damn, I feel sad. And I love how, and this is what he gets, because ultimately he's a nasty dude, how Shigaraki, or All for One, whatever the heck his name is, you know, All for Shiggy, he essentially says, once again. There it goes again. And that's why All Might, even though he's been out of commission for hundreds of chapters now, ever since the battle against All for One, you know, he's been essentially crippled and reduced to just being in that normal state or whatnot. Ultimately, he still is a thorn in his side. And until he actually is able to kill him, and if Night Eye's, you know, premonition comes true, it'll probably be All for One that kills him, because you can see the rage induced inside of him, where once again, because of All Might, there's a roadblock. Because of All Might inspiring Cassie, Cassie was the one that, you know, had New Order, gave him New Order, started destroying him from the inside. It is All Might yet again that is stopping him from ultimately achieving where he's trying to go. And this is just how much of a real one Star and Stripe is, right? Even though she was putting up a little facade or whatnot, like one of the soldiers is there, you know, he's all broken up about her death, and he's recounting those words that we heard, I want to say it was maybe 3 chapters ago now, where Cassie was like, don't worry, men, I will send your remains, I will make sure to send your remains back to your loved ones, meaning that, like, this is about to get gruesome, y'all gonna die, don't worry, I'll make sure it happens. But she was bluffing, she was talking out of her ass, because when it was all said and done, she could have had the opportunity right there, blow up the aircraft, boom, that might have been enough to take him out, but she loved her bros too much, and that was just a lot of lip service on her behalf of, like, yeah, you know, I'll send you a remain. You wasn't gonna do that at all, and that's again why she's such a real one. Her bond with her men was so strong that she rather have took the L, gave, you know, this cursed New Order into him as he stole the quirk, then have her men die right there. Like, it hits different when it's Cassie, man. It hits different. And those words too that the soldier says, of course you surpassed him, referring to her, you know, ultimate goal and dream of surpassing All Might. Of course you surpassed him, you've been the greatest hero all this time. I'm like, oh my god, because it is sad, you know, dreams of surpassing, like, just look at it, how central to the story All Might has been. Now that I think about it, he has not been in commission in so long, and yet he inspired Endeavor, and then ultimately Endeavor became the #1 hero. He inspired the #1 hero of the United States to become a hero, and the hero that she ultimately became. He inspired Deku. He inspired Bakugo. He just inspired so many people, and again, he hasn't done jack shit in hundreds of chapters. Like, All Might, he more so, now that I think about it, really embedded himself as a symbol of peace. Like, he don't gotta do a damn thing anymore, but he's so strong of his ideology, of what he represented, that he still inspires and still keeps things going around him, despite, again, he's so weak that he'll get pushed over a lunchbox. And then we cut to what felt mad random. I'm not even gonna lie, this one page felt super, was it 1 or 2? Either way, it was very small-lived or short-lived. It felt so out of place and random as hell that we see this random dude that coincidentally he's a mass murderer and all sorts of stuff, because again, they got to play very carefully. Can't just have random people getting killed. This is shonen manga. But ultimately he's there in an apartment with a chick, and he's like, we didn't evacuate, which I guess it goes back to something that was set up way earlier of how everybody should have evacuated, and this is why you need to evacuate, because you don't know what the hell could happen. Villains are all over. People broke out of prison, yada yada yada. And All For One busts into their apartment as he's talking out of his ass, and it's like, I'm gonna rob your Quirk and give you this, Quirk fam, that way I could get rid of New Order. And I'm like, I don't know, for some reason it just really felt mad out of place. It makes sense and everything, because hey, that's what he was trying to do, although I still don't understand why he didn't just continue on taking the blast and give it to one of the soldiers that was right there. Instead he chose to flee, but then again, it was eating him up, so he probably was just not even thinking straight. On top of that, it was too damaging to him to try and withstand some of these blasts while he's trying to get to the soldiers. Instead, it would have been easier. So that probably, I guess, kind of makes sense, but still, I would have just attempted an all-out last-ditch effort of throwing myself onto one of those soldiers, rip out whatever quirk they had, and then boom, rather than fly into some random dude's apartment like, hey, my fault, I know you sleeping, I know you probably watching, like, what, you got Yu Yu Hakusho on the TV? Oh, that's dope, but give me your quirk and take this shit, because it's destroying me, motherfucker. And my gal Cassie yet again, although it kind of felt a little odd as well, because it wasn't really like she did anything, but she says, nice try, idiot. And I thought for a second when she popped up, obviously it was like in a vestige and the mental and whatnot, I thought she was gonna do something else there when she said nice try, idiot, like she was stopping him from what he was trying to accomplish. But ultimately she just came one last time to talk some shit to him, essentially basically give him a little more of a beating within, because at the end of the day the quirk is still destroying him from within. And she says thanks to all the quirks inside of him, her little revolt was the death of her. And at first I was like, well, what does she mean by that? Because I thought like, okay, maybe she was here yet again, like gonna stop him from, and I'm talking about within the mind, like she's gonna stop him from taking this dude's quirk or whatever. But I guess she was just recounting and just in general saying like, you kind of stopped my whole going against the United States wishes and everything, because you had all those extra quirks, and on top of that, because of the mistakes essentially that was made, she's dead. And she goes on to say that it's a real shame that she couldn't kill him with her own 2 hands. But here's some final parting words to remember, John Doe, which that was also a nice throw in there as well, like something Horikoshi really made sure to try and add every reference he can to make it like feel Navy wise, Army wise, of her referring to him as John Doe, because remember, they still technically don't even at that point know who that is. It's supposed to be Shigaraki, but because of that command from New Order not working, it's still a little mystery as to what the heck's going on there. And she gives some, I guess, powerful All Might-esque type of words that as long as people stand up to save each other, someone will inherit that will of heroism and they will strike you down. For some reason, it kind of reminded me of the speech of, I want to say it was Future Gohan in the Future Trunks Dragon Ball Z OVA, where he's like, you can't kill what I am, you can't kill what I represent. Even if you kill this body, another person will come even stronger to take my place. It doesn't end right here. It won't end. That kind of gave me that type of vibe. And again, just powerful. I don't know, man. I just feel like Horikoshi knocked it out the park with her. And again, some people disagree. I guess I want to tackle this maybe in a different video as a whole, because I feel like we can't constrain a story that, why is it that people feel like just because a character appeared fairly recently, why can't they die? What's the big reason why they can't die? Like, oh, it go against the plot. Like, no, it worked. Like, her purpose was, I'm #1 hero. I'm here to stop you. Oh shit, you're that damn strong. You're even stronger than we ever imagined. You killed me. Great purpose. Why is it that because you don't like that type of narrative, the narrative is wrong or bad? But again, that's for a whole different video. Just in general, I don't like that mindset of like, you're constraining what a story can and can't be. So if a character is introduced right now, then automatically you expect plot armor, and then those same people will go around and say, man, I hate plot armor, but you are mad because plot armor wasn't surrounding Cassie. Just a thought there, just a thought. But fam, the rage and basically All For One pissed on Cassie's grave right there, where he says, give it a rest. The winner is the one who lives longest, so take a hike, dead lady. I was like, oh my god, talk about shitting on your op, talk about shitting on the dead, pissing on their grave. I was like, damn, tell him how you really feel, fam. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, he is going through, you know, internal strife of he's dying from the inside out, so there's that, probably why he's talking shit. But I was like, woo, Shigaraki wouldn't have been able to be so elegant like that. And again, that's why I say that All For One is mainly the one in control of this whole show. And then this whole segment is wrapped up by saying the words, I want to say it was Kathy that was saying that someone, some hero, Midoriya, and you see Midoriya with like a bunch of Shigaraki's hands wrapped around, or that might have been Shigaraki actually, now that I think about it. Maybe, who knows, that's going back to the whole idea of somebody reach out to me, save me, the little boy inside. So there's that possibility. But that page right there was essentially the wrap up, because after that we cut back into, you know, the other heroes and class 1A and stuff like that. And man, it got me really saddened, I ain't gonna lie. Just, it was saddened of course because of the Cassie death and all that jazz, but just in general, when My Hero goes to those levels, My Hero Academia becomes a whole different manga, man. It goes from like, oh, I like My Hero, that shit is dope, to yo, this could be my favorite manga right now. Like the last month or so of chapters of My Hero were some of my favorite of the manga all year long, and just in general some of the strongest stuff that I really loved. I love when it gets to those life or death situations where you get brand new characters that are the most insane, or it don't even gotta be brand new characters, just when you get to that level of intensity that My Hero can bring forth. I really loved it. So when we cut from that and we're going back to class 1A, I'm like, oh, Horikoshi knows how to make intense fight scenes, especially with like some hardened people, work very well. Because, you know, Cassie wasn't the most nicest, or like, hey, jolly old fella, we got one creep mother All For One Shigaraki, and then you got a really hardened soldier and a bunch of hardened soldiers backing her. Like, Horikoshi shines at his darkest, if that makes any sense, and that's really, really dope. But as we cut back to, you know, essentially the present, the hunt for Shigaraki had continued, but of course, he disappeared again, because at the end they got 50 million quirks and hiding bases all over the world, and as he was being destroyed, yeah, it seems as though that actually worked against the murderer. He took the murderer's quirk, gave him new order, which I wonder what happens there. Like, I felt like, and I thought, and I theorized that new order was a creation of the United States, a quirk that they made, artificial quirk or something like that. That's what I was under the impression, and who knows, maybe that still is the case. Maybe whoever dies, the vessel that dies, maybe new order automatically goes somewhere, or they're gonna find the body and be able to extract the quirk somehow. I don't know how that would work, but that's what I was under the impression of, because if not, there's some dude out there with new order right now, and essentially that could be, oh my god, he could end up working for All For One and just be in general like a mass murderer, a freaking serial killer, whatever the heck that dude is. Essentially could be walking around with something as hacks and strong as New Order. Deku might actually have to face right now New Order. That might actually have been a setup at the end of all that. Wow, I ain't mad at that at all, because New Order, I put up a poll not that long ago on Twitter. I said, which one would you rather have, New Order or One For All? And New Order actually won, and I voted for New Order as well. And the entire world went straight up pussy, because once they heard of essentially the #1 hero of the United States taking a dirt nap, trying to come in and intervene with this problem, everybody backed down. Like, I was like, wow. Well, you see Salam is going to the government over there, I think it's like in Egypt, and they're like, no, we're not, it's not that we're abandoning Japan, it's just, you know, we're letting them handle their stuff. We gotta, you know, focus over here on home. And I love that Salam was actually in the World Heroes Mission movie, so I kind of already feel familiar with this character. But god damn, the world just went pussified over everything that just happened. And if you think about it, the impact of that battle just changed the entirety of My Hero Academia right now, because the entire world wants nothing to do. If anything, All For One's plans went even better than expected, because now really everybody's just gonna stand down. They're just like, no, we can't rock the foundation of our homeland because of what's going on in Japan. Essentially, Japan has been abandoned, which is crazy to think about. I ain't gonna lie, the more I'm talking about it right now, it's getting me kind of hyped, because this is a very, very dire situation, and the stakes yet again have gotten even higher, because now nobody's coming to save them. And that's kind of like that whole ideology that I live by, that nobody's coming to save you, you gotta save yourself. And ultimately Japan right now has to save save themselves because Salam ain't coming. None of the other heroes from the other nations are coming. Their governments are holding them down unless somebody feels froggy, like how Star and Stripe Cassie was like, man, fuck the government. I'm doing my shit myself. Japan got to do it dolo. They doing solo dolo right now against this problem. But we cut back to the soldier, one of the survivors of this, whole battle against Shigaraki, as he was detailing everything that happened in the encounter. And All Might is there wishing he could have seen Cassie because, yeah, that was his unofficial student. She used to look up to him. Everything about her was inspired by him, but she didn't even get to see him since the day of her being young and being saved by him. So, that would have been nice. I ain't gonna lie, a little filler of them meeting. Oh, man, why? Horikoshi, you did great, but at the same time, it's so sad because, like, I feel like this is one character that I would have loved to see stick around a lot longer than she did, even though I'm always like, yo, if you do something to that level and it raises the stakes and it really is a game changer, which it is, like, yo, killing a character can move things along sometimes, but god damn, at the cost of getting rid of a great freaking character. However, they got some data that I do think they're going to use, and that was also a setup from Horikoshi because the aircraft recorded the biosignature of the battle, so they'll kind of be able to get a gauge a little bit of, okay, this is how he moves. Okay, we didn't know about this quirk, so they'll have a better understanding and be able to use more strategy next time around. Then we cut back to the kiddos. We see a big, like, as soon as I turn the page, first thing I notice is a big freaking shot of Bakugo angry. Oh, Bakugo angry, and water is wet because All Might is there telling the students, yo, we got a break, we got an extension due to what Cassie did, Star and Stripe. Ultimately, he was supposed to be ready by tomorrow. Instead, she gave them at least a week of an extension, which I'm like, okay, this is going to give us again more prep time for the big final showdown. And again, that adds more of the impact of, even though she died, Star and Stripe did help out a lot before she, had her ultimate demise. And the chapter ends with All Might having the audacity, and I'm gonna get to it now, to tell these kids, hey, we'll use this time to our advantage and we'll take down Shigaraki and All for One. All Might, and I know some people probably gonna feel a certain way, but I gotta throw this in here, and then I'm also gonna counter it at the same time because we gotta look at things from every freaking dimension, whatnot. All Might, you have the audacity. You've been out of commission for, what, a couple hundred chapters or so? You've been out of commission for a long time, and you got the audacity to come and tell these children that just not that long ago, very short time ago, y'all were babying them. All of 1A was being babied. The UA students in general were babied and coddled and kept away as much as they possibly could and put into training stuff and whatnot. And now you're saying, oh, by the way, y'all know that motherfucker killed the #1 hero from the United States in a tragic murder and stuff like that. Y'all go handle that. The other, the #1 hero of Japan, Endeavor, and, Hawks and Bezginas and all those guys, yeah, I'm sure they'll be involved, but it's you motherfuckers. You little kids that are fresh into school, y'all gotta handle this. I felt like that was, I don't know, a little, like this should be more so a problem for the actual heroes. But on the flip side of it, that's to demonstrate yet again how dire the situation is, that they have to come to the students now, and it's kind of already been set up as well that, yo, we need y'all. Like, it's so bad. So many people have abandoned their positions as real heroes. We don't got much real heroes. In fact, those 3 are some of the last few remaining, not to mention we had people like Midnight die and stuff like that. It's desperate. Like, that's why they're coming to the children. So it's a flip, catch-22, so to speak, with the whole situation. But yeah, that was something that I kind of just felt like, the audacity of All Might coming to these children that y'all was just babying a couple arcs ago. Yeah, handle that. I know it was gruesome. I know Cassie Bates was massacred, but y'all could do it. Yay! Go 1A! I don't know. I just felt a certain way about that. I'm curious what you guys think, though. First of all, what do you think about that regarding All Might telling the students, hey, y'all take care of the big murderer? Your thoughts on the finale and everything with Cassie Bates, Star and Stripe. Do you think that now we're going to have some random mass murderer on the loose with New Order? Or he died at that point with All for One? Do you think that there's any connection to the United States with that quirk? Maybe they artificially created it and it automatically will go back to them. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of this story now that we've cut back to yet again Deku, Todoroki, Bakugo, this whole crew. It looks like maybe we're going to have a couple of intermission chapters before we get to the next big phase, because we just had a very giant battle, insane battle. And for the last time, because I don't think we'll be talking too much about Star and Stripe, R.I.P. Star and Stripe. You were such a freaking amazing character. Your short-lived appearance in the My Hero Academia story. You did your thing. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and seems like we're headed towards the next phase of the story, possibly the climax of the story. Let's do it.